to introduce Kenner Kingston, President of Architectural Nexus. Kenner, you have control, and we'll see how that goes.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Excellent.
All right, fantastic. Well, the conversations today really do point toward this discussion about a part of sustainability, regenerative design, Z&E design that is harder to control than the building or the engineering or the systems, and that is the people inside. So just a little bit more about me. I have the privilege of leading a group of diverse design professionals in an integrated practice that includes site design, interior design, graphic design, branding, as well as architectural design. We like to think of ourselves as a large firm with a small firm culture, and in that regard, we're very people-oriented, people-driven. And so that kind of sets up the discussion about why an architect is so interested in talking about the people inside the building, not just about the people. So here are two takeaways from this final portion of today's presentation. Buildings are an outcome, not a purpose. I think the majority of us in the AEC industry have lost track of our real purpose. We have to remember that, and I'm at the top of the list of culprits here, as exciting as it is to receive certifications and awards, if the buildings aren't serving the purpose, the people inside them, then they're really not doing the job that they're meant to do. And so point two, people are the point, not the buildings, especially in high-performance buildings. That we've all seen the graphs and the diagrams that clearly explain how in a high-performance building, plug loads are the dominant load. And that is a load that is, if you're not talking to people, you're going to have a very hard time affecting change. So we're talking about people, and we're talking about dirty, messy, complicated people who have lots of problems to solve each day, not including saving energy. And the combination of our focus as an industry on all of the building systems parts of the energy pie and the natural reluctance of occupants to deal with the reality facing the universe that we live in means that the challenge continues. But really, the people are the only part that matters. Discretionary waste is the target. We're not talking about productive use of energy. The productive use of energy is never a target in our discussion. Where, frankly, our industry is very well trained to deliver high-performance buildings. And so now we need to turn our attention to the low-hanging fruit, the building occupant. At the onset of the recession, when the economy was in a situation that provided us a great deal on a very ugly building, it's interesting because the Great Recession, an ugly building at 4,500 feet in a climate in Salt Lake City, in a climate that has 100-degree summers and 20-degree winters, the huge daily temperature swings, 4 seasons, snow removal. The way I came to the problem of people as a focus is that our building has not been a typical high-performance building. Many high-performance buildings that get a lot of attention are buildings that are on the coast. And in one of the things I appreciated about the NBI conference that this presentation comes from is that it was in Denver. I think it's a more challenging climate, and I think there's a lot to be said about the way the snow interacts with net zero buildings. It's a fun trick to solve. Next, we think about and talk about regenerative design and the role of people in it. I come to kind of a critical moment in my career where we have transformed the building. We've done kind of a magic trick to it with a very small 999 square foot addition, and done all the things architects would normally do. Optimize the building, high performance equipment, extra insulation, high performance glass, fixed shading, you name it. And ultimately found that the occupants were very uncomfortable, and that the whole process of being a building owner, we had been a tenant in somebody else's building before, led me to the conclusion that we needed to take on the operations ourselves, not outsource that, not hire a property manager, and really get to know, understand, and appreciate what it is we do to building owners in the design profession as we hand buildings off. That transition is often a punch list and a bill and an invoice and you're gone, when really the work is just the beginning. The platinum building that developed out of that effort was not really operating to our expectations. And so as we departed on a quest for LEED EV Platinum, we started to really realize that there were only so many operational levers we could pull, and that we needed to really focus in on occupant engagement and comfort and develop a true appreciation for the operational implications of this industry that we're all in. And I now believe every architect should own and operate their own building. I think there's a level of authenticity and knowledge and learning that comes with this experience. Well, we pioneered this infographic on the left for our own building to try to help us start to communicate internally to the occupants about how we're doing, where we're going, what our targets are, and portions of it speak to EUI, portions of it speak to energy use breakdown, portions of it speak to emissions, whatever the individual readers' needs are. We try to find a way to satisfy that with information, of course, coupled with training and whatnot. But we found it wasn't quite enough. And as we started to take these series of post-occupancy evaluation services centered around sustainability and regenerative design out to counties and cities in states along the Wasatch Front and beyond, and to California, we started to realize that we were going to have to get to this at a deeper level, and so we found a partner. We're in the second stage of the evolution of our occupant engagement behavioral energy programs at this point. We've partnered with a technology group, Sustain3, you can see their logo there at the bottom, that has developed a web-based platform that helps us drive change at the individual occupant level through gamification. Gamification is something that I've been watching for more years than we've been a building owner, and trying to figure out how do you work this into running a business or providing services to folks who are interested in Z&E buildings. Well, we're now in our third year of the program, dubbed U-Matter at the University of Utah. And the program is the behavioral component of the university's Better Buildings Challenge effort, trying to help them, support them as they work on long-term carbon reduction goals. Again, all of the easy stuff that they already know to do, all of the engineering solutions, all the architecture solutions, those are backed up into a big pile called deferred maintenance that is measured in millions and millions of dollars. And so being able to approach them with solutions to driving down energy usage without having to tap capital budgets is kind of a key issue. We've had tremendous success with huge rates of engagement in the College of Science and a 25% plug load reduction result in the art and architecture program. So how do we do it? Process is the key here. The platform, Sustain3's platform, works by understanding that individual occupants have a limited bandwidth. Their time is precious, and that they're all motivated by very different things. For some folks, it's going to be peer pressure. For some folks, it's going to be rewards. For others, it's going to be competition. For others, it's going to be information and learning. And so you have to kind of figure out how can you access that. And I think this platform has done that. What is common to all of the motivations that get people to change their behavior in a building is that they don't take place. The change doesn't occur unless someone does something. So the key to the platform is that there's a call to action in the program on a weekly basis that tries to move passive occupants into active inhabitants by getting them to do something different. And what happens is if you get enough people doing something different in a common platform, then you start to see a culture emerge. It's extremely successful in places where a culture already exists, such as in our office. We employ the program here in our office because we've taken this LEED Double Platinum goal that we had in Salt Lake City and leveraged it in our Sacramento office to work on a living building challenge building that we just opened at the end of last year. And we feel like doing is the key. Now, and so as you can see from the pictures, it's a web-based platform that is accessible on any device, anywhere, anytime, that allows users who are very busy to get an opportunity to connect to the information that they're looking for to learn and advance a culture of sustainability inside their organization. And it's a pretty straightforward process of having episodic competitions, weekly learn and earns, the short quiz. You unlock actions each week that allow you to earn points for your team or for yourself, and then we can report back results through whether it's the meter change at the building being commissioned. They're still being tuned. And we've entered our Living Building Challenge, or ZNE, performance period. And as we do that, it's crucial that we continue to train them with very site-specific training that gets to the issues of how to use your building. Now, our folks in Salt Lake are excited about it, and they're still participating, even though they're not in the building in Sacramento, because they want to learn, how does a gray water system work? How does a rainwater to potable system work? How do our energy use reduction strategies culminate in a ZNE scenario? Last slide. And so the thing I would say at the conclusion here is just to say, if you're involved in a net zero project or a net positive energy project or slogging through EBOM, trying to figure out if you're going to be able to have your LBC goals realized, or just getting a green team aloft, you really, the X factor in the conversation is the people. If you talk to design professionals about this problem, we're going to keep coming to you with design solutions. I strongly suggest that, after all, buildings are for people. Why wouldn't they be the answer?
Okay. This question's for Kenner. There's kind of a two-part. So first, can you comment on the specific behavioral changes that have been impactful in the commercial buildings that you've worked on as part of your program? And then just a related question about maybe fatigue for people in sort of the interactive tools and how you keep people interested and coming back and continuing to participate.
Well, those are really good questions. Sometimes the platform is paired with a plug load study. We deploy watt meters into a location to measure specific utilization. So we're not quoting national averages or DOE level information. We're giving them really specific consumption information for their location. And I every time I go to deploy watt meters, I always think I'm a little worried that this is going to be a more efficient group than I've seen in the past, and I'm not going to find the waste I need to point out the problems. I'm never surprised. Basically, auditing people's workstations, you find everything from full kitchenettes to very dangerous space heaters, et cetera. And so everything from, and then we can tailor the educational content to what we see. We've seen situations where faculty groups are fundamentally on desktop PCs pulling 100 plus watts because of backbone infrastructure technology at their VPN or remote desktop scenarios that kind of force them into that scenario, when they'd much prefer some kind of a mobile computing platform that connects to Blade servers and whatnot. So we've seen everything of that kind of IT infrastructural solutions all the way down to the basics. People constantly disable power saver features, disable power saver features, and for some reason believe their screensavers are still saving their screens, even though it's not 1995. So there is always a big range of things we can affect, and it kind of depends on where you're at. In certain laboratories, we've done this effort in some laboratories and found that talking to them about their behaviors and how they're running certain of the benchtop equipment, which ones are taking a lot, if they just knew which ones are taking a lot of energy with their behavior change, and been able to connect information and a call to action to reduced energy in a variety of settings, including manufacturing, government office, private office, you name it.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll do one last question because
I'm sorry, I didn't actually answer the fatigue part.
Oh, right, yeah, absolutely.
The best way to battle fatigue is it's through the competition. What we've observed with our clients is when they hit fatigue, it's because the theme associated with a particular topic and competition goes too long. We feel like 3 months is the longest you can do. 1 month is not quite enough, and so we're always trying to tell our clients, set your competitions up, your teams, your themes, energy to waste, to water, sustainability topics. Set those up in small chunks so that people don't get too bored. They need some kind of a refresh. And ultimately, I think long-term fatigue is a potential problem. We haven't found the limit of that edge yet. Some clients are multiple years into it, but we do change cohorts within the group. So, great question.
Thank you. Kenner, you talked about this a little bit already, but maybe you can elaborate on the policy and the program piece.
Yeah, you bet. Just briefly touching on why, because purpose is a key issue. In addition to everything else that's been said, I think authenticity really matters. There's a lot of folks in this space that are interested in prescribing net zero for others, but not for themselves. And so it's really important that we as design professionals don't just talk the talk. Policy is, it's interesting that you would ask me to focus in on policy. We're in a market right now that is utility commission, and the primary utility is there's a little bit of some regression going on regarding net metering and whatnot, and there's some question marks over a lot of folks' heads in terms of where is this going to go and how are we going to pull it off. At a community level, it's obviously the thing that drives change, and the kinds of progressive, helpful policies and decisions that have been made for the last decade or so have done a lot nationally, regionally, locally to improve the climate for this kind of a thing, which humanity needs, because it ties back to the place we live and the problems we're having climatologically. But even within an organization, policy matters. I meet a lot of folks who are trying to change behaviors inside their organization, and without at least a little bit of top-down effort in the form of internal policies saying we will buy Energy Star rated equipment, or we will implement a workstation watt budget. It's hard for groups for that complete culture of conservation to form.